to the city of Lafayette, not to just Ragin Cajuns fans, to the city of Lafayette, you need to show up. The first half of 2025 gonna belong to K-Dot. That boy, he gonna drop an album.
You know, Southern's gonna be like, I went to Southern. I'm like, I went to Grambling. Yeah, that's how it goes.
I don't know, because the same way they storming the field, you know, they planting flags. They might start finding them boys. You want to plant it? All right, it's gonna cost you about $250,000. You bet not plant this flag. What's good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into yet another episode of the Fitz Take Podcast. I'm your guy, Jamarcus Fitzpatrick, but you know you can always call me Fitz. He's your guy, Elijah Nixon, a.k.a. Eli, a.k.a. E-Money, over there rocking the Rams hoodie, because as we're recording this episode Sunday, we're an hour away from the Saints and Rams playing against each other, so I know he's going to be locked in on that, trying to coach those boys up to a victory over the New Orleans Saints with his headset and all this stuff like that.
Hey, I'll do something. I'm going to try to do something, man. I'm going to try to make sure we follow our game plan. I didn't watch anything. Usually, going up to Rams games, I'll watch something Rams related. I didn't watch anything. I kind of gave up on it, but just finished.
We know the game plan. We just got to go execute. I got you, man. I got you. Listen, guys, we want to thank y'all so much. As of us recording right now, we have 306 subscribers on YouTube, and that is all thanks to you guys. While we were streaming on Saturday during the Ragin Cajuns and ULM football game, we went from 280 to right over the 300 mark. So that's 20-something people in a 4-hour span where we got subscribers. We appreciate you guys for that. Y'all continue to run it up. Continue to hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors, whoever you want to tell them to subscribe to the Fitz Take Podcast here on YouTube. If you are a listener and you are listening to this podcast, you can also follow us wherever you get your podcast from. We're working to finalize and get a part of Apple Podcasts, but we're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, all of those good platforms that you can go and listen to your favorite podcast. So last week was really fun. The Ragin Cajuns, like we said, we did a 4-hour stream, which you can go and watch that here on our YouTube channel. They beat the ULM Warhawks 37-23. But aside from that, we had some great high school football, and then ultimately too, it was Thanksgiving, bro. How can I forget that? All that good food and stuff we was eating and everything. Well, I don't know about you because you were back there in Lafayette, so all that good food that I was eating. So it was good for me. But how was your week last week, bro?
It was pretty cool, man. High school football, like you said, that was pretty good. We didn't. At Thanksgiving, I was here. I was behind working here in Lafayette, but then Saturday was awesome as well. You sit back and you watch the Cajuns play ULM. You watch some more football, high school, college football rivalries and things of that nature. So it was a good time just sitting back and just watching some football and getting some here and there food from here and there, but watching some football and having a good time.
Absolutely, man. And we'll get into all of those topics across the college football world later in the show. But we're going to go ahead and start things with take number one. It is our first play talking about the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns football team clinching the Sun Belt West early in Saturday, or I believe Friday, because South Alabama lost to Texas State. And then Saturday, when they faced off with ULM, they were able to pick up a 37-23 victory, finishing the regular season at 10-2. And now we know that the Ragin Cajuns will be hosting the Sun Belt Championship game at Cajun Field for the first time since 2021. They will face off with the Marshall Thundering Herd. That game will kick off on Saturday, December the 7th at 6:30 p.m. and will air on ESPN. Elijah, we sat there and we watched that ball game and saw, Zylan Perry rush for a career high 150 yards. We saw the defense get 3 turnovers and all of those things. But just how exciting is it that this team, with all that they faced the first 2 years of the Michael Desimo era, 2 6-7 seasons, now getting a chance to redeem themselves and play in a championship game like they said they want?
It's cool, man, just to think about it. Only one person picked on the pick to win the Sun Belt West. That was head coach Matt Desimo. Michael Desimo. I'm sorry. Michael Desimo.
Talking about his brother, boy.
Michael Desimo. He was the only person that actually picked them to win. So for them to actually do something and live up to that expectation and clinch it. They clinched the day before with Texas State beating South Alabama, but then winning and now getting a chance to host. That's something that the story kind of wrote itself for the season. We all knew with a lot of uncertainty of how this team will play, uncertainty of who will be the starting quarterback before the season started, uncertainty of how will they bounce back after two straight 6 and 7, uncertainty of if the stadium was going to be finished. But everything came in together in fruition of how things can play out for the Cajuns, and I think that it just led to nothing but excitement for them, and to play one more final game for it all for the Sun Belt Championship at home could be the perfect storybook ending to the season.
Absolutely, man. And not to mention also this team, you know, went 6-0 on the road. Something that had never been done in the program's history. You know, they were walking in people's traps, taking over their traps, as they like to say. So it was exciting to see them fulfill what they really wanted. You know, when we talked to a lot of those guys in the preseason, and they said, "We want to play for a championship. We want to play for a championship." And while that sounds good during talking season, it is even better when it's able to come full circle and they're able to see it all come together because of the work that they put in throughout the season. You have so many highs and lows, ups and downs that happen throughout the year. You lose to Tulane early in the year. And, that kind of knocked a lot of your college football playoff hopes in the balance a little bit. You lose to South Alabama there late in the season, which knocks you out of the college football playoff picture, but it doesn't take away the fact that you played extremely well throughout the year. Your offense is averaging, I think, well over 30 points a game. Your defense has played well when they've needed to. Now, obviously, in the game against ULM, they had to face off with ULM's freshman sensation. I think it's Ahmad Harry, if I remember his name correctly, but they struggled against the run, but they were able to put pressure on the quarterback. They were able to, force turnovers with 3 interceptions, 2 of them coming from my guy Cody Jackson, Shreveport legend. Shout outs to you, brother. I gotta shake that brother's hand because he's from a great city. But no, for real, man. Like to see this team get this, to see Coach Dez get this moment. I mean, you're talking about a guy that is from here. He played here. He's coached here. And now to get the opportunity to potentially win a conference championship here, he did it as an assistant coach under Billy Napier in 2021. So he knows what it feels like in order to win a championship. I think him and Coach Leger, and I think maybe 1 or 2 coaches are the only ones that were on that staff in 2021 that got a chance to hoist that trophy, to have that moment. But for him to be able to do this now as the head man, um, that's going to be an amazing feeling. And, hopefully later this week, we can get a chance to talk to the head man here on the Fitz Take Podcast. We're working to try to iron some things out. So hopefully by the time this episode drops, we'll be having all those details ironed out so we can give you guys a midweek episode leading up to the championship game. Ultimately, Elijah, we were both looking at the Marshall James Madison game on the back half. Just early thoughts of what do you think about the Thunder and Herd and how Coach Charles Huff is taking care of that program and getting them back to this position, or getting them to this position to play in the championship game?
To me, they give me signs of Tulane. They give me signs of Tulane. They have a running quarterback. They have a good run game, and they could play well off of it. So to me, this is actually a time for you to right your wrongs. If you're the Ragin Cajuns, to me, it feels like the second test, that same test coming back to you. How can you pass it this time? Because with Tulane, they came in, they handled their business. They won on the Cajun field, but now it's like you're getting that same team, but more at stake with you, trying to win the Sun Belt championship. So Marshall gives me that same type of vibe, man. But just watching that game yesterday, maybe boy, yeah, my blood pressure going up and down, man. Marshall drives down the field. James Madison blocks the field goal. They go into overtime. James Madison score. Marshall answers right back. Then James Madison kicks a field goal. And Marshall runs a heck of a play to get into the end zone. And the 2-point conversion was even better. So it was like, I'm expecting a competitive matchup. I'm actually expecting a high scoring matchup between the two. So, but that's my early predictions. But getting back to the initial question, Marshall reminds me of Tulane, and I'm interested to see how the defense shape up and prepares for this one because they're going to have a lot on their hands against Marshall this Saturday.
It should be a good one, man. Yeah, I remember when these two teams faced off against each other in that same 2021 season. That was Coach Dez's first real opportunity to be the head coach of the Ragin Cajuns football team in the New Orleans Bowl. I remember he got the Gatorade bath there in the Superdome and all those things like that, and faced off um, against Coach Huff and the Thundering Herd the year before they entered into the Sun Belt. So just to see, and I think Coach Huff is coaching in a contract year. So regardless of what happens for them, I'm fully believing that he will either get a large extension or he will be somebody else's head coach by the time next season comes around. Um, so we'll get more into talking about the Thundering Herd and the matchup between them and the Ragin Cajuns later this week, as we will preview the Sun Belt Championship game. But I do want to say this to the city of Lafayette, not to just Ragin Cajuns fans, to the city of Lafayette, you need to show up. I'm calling you out, bro. Um, we are at a lot of Ragin Cajun sporting events, and I know that the stadium's getting renovated, and I know the capacity is only up to like 25,000 or something like that. But, bro, this like I've been to a lot of college stadiums, and like this one, the access that you can get to this field, it feels like you are right slap dab middle in the middle of everything. There is no reason why, if you are in the city of Lafayette and you ain't got nothing else to do, that you don't need to show up. A team that has played extremely well, that was really one loss away from potentially being in the college football playoff picture, is now here and has the opportunity to win a conference championship under a head coach that is from here with a team that has battled through so much. They're extremely experienced. They've played extremely well. They score a lot of points. They get turnovers. They're excited. Like, go show up. You got to show up for your team. Um, so that's how I feel about that. You guys got to show up in this situation. I don't know what it's gonna take. I know you're gonna complain about the concession stands and the ticket, this and that. Show up. Find your red shirt. Go to Walmart. Go to Academy. I don't know. Go somewhere. Get your red T-shirt. Go show up. Just show up. That's what you got to do. So Louisiana will face off with Marshall for the Sun Belt Championship at Cajun Field on Saturday. I believe that'll be December 7th, with kickoff being at 6:30, and that game will air on ESPN. But it don't matter if it's going to air on ESPN because y'all should be there. So with that, let's go to take number 2. Let's make some forward progress, and let's talk about more college football from rivalry weekend. Michigan getting the upset over Ohio State 13-10. Syracuse coming back from down 21-0 to beat Miami 42-38. And South Carolina, the Gamecocks, the place where Elijah loves so much, played against Clemson and were able to get the upset as well, 17-14. With with all of those upsets happening, there was a lot of things shaken up in terms of the college football playoff picture. I'm absolutely certain. We'll look at the AP polling a little bit later. But Elijah, as we were kind of getting ready, or as we were, wrapping up with the Ragin Cajuns and seeing some of these upsets, our eyeballs were going back and forth between different games and different scores. Like, to see the underdogs in a lot of situations come up with upsets, like how exciting is that, not only in just college football, but just in sports in general, man.
Um, I love it. I mean, I think that's the definition of football, any sport, honestly. So rivalry weekend. Sometimes one team is light years better on the other team than on paper. Traditionally, sometimes it's always like that. But you play each other so much that it's like you have a feel for it, and you never know what the outcome can be or will be. So you just got to line up and play, and that's what I like about that. With Michigan and Ohio State, if anybody's know college football, I didn't give Michigan a chance. I don't think most of the college world gave Michigan a chance. Michigan comes back, and they still win this one 13-10. Miami and Syracuse. I didn't give Syracuse a chance. They still come back from 21-0 to beat Miami. Like that's football, you know. At the end of the day, it doesn't just take. It's not just one guy. It's going to take 11 on offense, 11 on defense, 11 on special teams. So, and that's what I like about it, man. It's like rivalry week. It's like we always say like you fight into the last second of the quarter. I feel like that actually happens during this time. They fight until the end. They fight until it's all over and see how it plays out. And as you can see, a couple of upsets did happen. So I love it, man. College football is, to me, is like, I know it's probably at the peak for some people, but it has grown and took another notch to me with everything that's going on, off the field and off the field and on the field. But it took another toll on me, peak on me, because it's like I think these guys have more. I'm not saying they don't want to contend, but they have a lot of pride of playing spoiler than you see on like the professional level. Like they take pride in being a spoiler. Hey, if we can't make it, you're not going to make it either. And they did that a couple of times over the weekend. So I love it, man. I love it, and it's only going to get bigger from here. I don't know if I'll watch a Western Michigan versus Eastern Michigan game, but if it came down to about 10 overtimes, I'll be like, okay, maybe it's interesting to watch again, or watch. But there's some rivalries that you really enjoy, and some of them played itself this weekend.
No, absolutely, man. I agree with you. Like rivalries and upsets and storming the fields and all of those different moments like that is what makes college football so special. Like NFL is great, NBA is good, MLB is good, but man, it's just something about the way college football is. Nothing like a Saturday, an 11 a.m. kickoff. You're seeing a team getting upset, and then at 2:30, you see another team get upset, and then in the nightcap, you see another team get upset. Like there's nothing like it. There's no other sport like that where you can be flipping through the channels all day long and just be watching football, different games. And then especially in rivalry week, we'll talk a little bit more in the Fitz Take about rivalries and what they mean to the sports world of things. But it it sets the table for a lot of moments where the team that's supposed to win doesn't win. Like Ohio State, I think was like a 21-point favorite or something like that coming into the game, and they don't even score 21 points because I think I said this after the Cajuns beat Wake Forest. It's not about the conference patch that you put on the front of the jersey. It's about the last name, who you're playing for, and then the team name on the front, who you're playing for. That's what it really boils down to. And that's what you got to love about college football, because no matter who the guy is that's in front of you, whether it's a 5-star, whether it's a walk-on, you got to still lace them up, put the ball down, and go play the game. And we saw that in those matchups. Now, the stuff we saw afterwards was insane. Like as we were looking at the Cajuns game, and I had the Michigan Ohio State game on my TV, and I looked up, and I thought they were storming the field. I was like, you don't storm the field for a rivalry game, do you? I don't think that's how that goes. I look up, them boys is fighting. They going at it. They squabbling. They took Kendrick's lines for certain and started squabbling up. So much so, during the melee, police officers had to pull out pepper spray and light them boys up to separate them. Like I said, we'll dive into more about it, but just like the pepper spraying thing and the reason that they had to separate them like that, like how do you feel about that, Elijah? Was it too much? Was it not enough? Like, what do you think?
No, pepper spray was correct. Uh, hey, bro, I'm not with all the tasing and all that stuff. So pepper spray, I mean, if you're gonna feel the burn, but you gotta think about it, man. Like it was, how many people's on this team? Like it's over 50, and you got to break up possibly 20 to 15 fights. It's only one of you, you know. I mean, hey now, pepper spray. You got to stop doing it. I mean, and we're not talking about like we talk about men that's lifting every day. That you know what I'm saying? Like they're not
Adrenaline high, all of that.
like you only could do so much. But I'm happy that everyone, nobody was really hurt throughout the situation. Of course, some people got punched on, some people got slapped, and some people got pepper sprayed. But they went home to see another day. That's what it really came down to. But with rivalries fighting, uh, it's like what you expect. You know, people want to plant their flags. People want to talk that smack at the end of the game. I mean, it was a couple weeks ago. Ohio State banned was talking junk. Did something with Michigan to talk junk to Michigan on the ban, whatever the Ohio State uh, formation was. But it was a talk junk to Michigan. Michigan comes in there in a week or 2 weeks. I think it was a week from there, a week from that game. So again, it's like it happens. It's rivalry week. I mean, it's nothing that you don't expect. So what they should start doing is hiring more security probably during that week, beefing that stuff up. Making sure that if a fight does break out, pepper spray will be the ultimate last resort where we can have enough guys on deck where he's breaking up. Because again, coaches isn't going to do enough. Other players, even when they try to break up a fight, it look like they're in it. So the other players still gonna punch him or do whatever they gotta do. And then security is not. It's only about so much of you guys. So I think they start beefing it up, and I think that with everything that happened, it's expected because it's rivalry. Two teams that is growing not to like each other, um, and somebody got to lose, and the losing emotion may trump everything and start to squabble up, as you said. So you know, that's what I expect from it. It's rivalry. It's nothing else to expect.
Yeah, man. I mean, you gotta getting them boys. Pepper spray was insane. I ain't gonna lie. That's that's crazy. Them boys was squirting water in their eyes to make sure they could see. That was crazy. I get having to get them separated as the most effective way as possible, but I don't know. Get a bulldozer or something. I don't know. We gonna have to figure out a way to get
They're
them
gonna be
boys
taking
separated.
people's hands and back.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Something we got to do something. I don't know. I don't know because the same way they storming the field, they planting flags and all that. They might start finding them boys. You want to plant it? All right, it's gonna cost you about $250,000. What's up? And then that's gonna start hurting it. If you bet not plant this flag. You bet not plant this flag. I will suspend you. That's gonna be the president of the school saying that. Forget the head coach. We not losing no money for you being silly. We not doing that. So Um, yeah, man. Like I said, the upsets kind of shake up the top 25. The AP top 25 came out Sunday. Oregon #1, then Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia moving up to 5, Tennessee, Ohio State moving down to 7, SMU at 8, Indiana, Boise State, Alabama sneaks up to 11, Arizona State going to 12, South Carolina at 13, Miami falling to 14, Ole Miss to 15, Iowa State 16, BYU, Clemson, UNLV, Colorado, Illinois, Missouri, Syracuse coming into the top 25, Army, and then Memphis routing things out in the top 25. So the CFP latest rankings will come out later this week. Obviously, the ones that matter will be after championship Saturday. So we will be keeping our eyes on that to see who makes it into the first 12-team college football playoffs. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to move to take number 3. And we are going to fly out, as we mentioned Kendrick Lamar earlier. But now it is Drake coming with his own response, and it ain't music. A while back he talked about pressing a red button. His red button is this. Drake is suing his own record label, Universal Music Group, UMG, and Spotify over Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us. He is suing them for launching an illegal scheme involving bots, payola, and other methods to pump up Not Like Us. The court filing claims UMG used Spotify and Apple's Siri to push Not Like Us over Drake's tracks. Employees perceived as loyal to Drake were allegedly fired as a part of an effort to cover up UMG's actions. UMG paid influencers and radio stations to boost Lamar's song without disclosure. And number 4, a whistleblower revealed bots generated 30 million early streams for Not Like Us. That was 5 days ago. And then also Philip Lewis tweeted out that Drake had launched a second legal actions case against or lawsuit against UMG over the Not Like Us theme song or song. accusing the music giant of defamation and claiming it could have halted the release. They could have halted the release of the song, falsely accusing him of being a sex offender. Before you go, Elijah, I want to say that it is clear now that Not Like Us is the greatest diss song of all time. None of these other songs have required somebody to pull out a lawsuit. Never. Never. Regardless of it's pumped up or not. His brother went to the court. That boy got on the phone. He called his lawyer and said, "This ain't right. No other. This has gotten no other. No other has ever done this before." So there's that. How do you feel about this? Do you feel like Drake is in the right? If this song was boosted, what does this say about Universal Music Group? You know, is that song really all that popular? Like, how do you feel about this, man?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all, man. I like Drake. That's the thing. I like Drake with the melody. But it's just, but I don't know if this was the greatest move, man. I mean, if this is just a way to make sure that he does not perform Not Like Us at the Super Bowl on the biggest stage, I don't like it at all. Because at the end of the day, man, Drake, when you was in his shoes, when you had your beef with Meek Mill, you went to Philadelphia. I don't know if you remember this, but I do. You went to Philadelphia and you did back to back on that stage, and that's Meek Mill's hometown. You did that, you know. So for you to try to, like, make sure he doesn't do it at the biggest stage or whatever, that kind of don't sit well with me, because Drake, at the end of the day, you're Drake. I don't think that people are going to, really totally look at you differently. I mean, they are. Some people will. They never will forgive you. Some people will. They'll forgive you. If it's because, I don't. There wasn't nothing true or false. If this was true, like you was really out there with R. Kelly type stuff, yeah, we looking at you different, Drake. But we don't really have evidence. I don't have it. So I'm just going to say, at the end of the day, man, I just feel like this is harmful to you more than anything, because it's not like it's real evidence planted against you. Just like you use Kendrick Lamar beat his wife. I mean, he could have lost some deals and he could have lost some record sales because of that as well. Like you said, he beat his wife. He said you're a pedophile. I mean, the really thing that came out of all of it is just that one record sounded better than the other. That was it. I mean, if you look at it during a Not Like Us worldwide tour listen party, you had people in Toronto singing, or Canada singing it. You had people in California singing it. People in Louisiana, everywhere around the world, people singing it. So, if he did have payola, he paid the right people, because I mean, everybody's playing this song. It's not like it's not being played somewhere, and for you to try to stop it, I don't like it, not one bit, man. Because I feel like you kind of pushed this beef a little bit more than what it should have been. Because even if you listen to Euphoria, Kendrick did not say anything like he was a pedophile or anything in that song. All he was going through the stuff that we already knew, or we already heard in beef records. And then you went around with Family Matters saying you beat your wife, and then Not Like Us came out. So, I mean, in a court of law, I don't know if you would win that one. So, I don't like this move, Drake. I really wish you would have stayed quiet to probably about after the Super Bowl, when people probably would have, when the Kendrick hype would have died down a little bit after the Super Bowl.
Died down. Huh? No, that boy finna release some more music. You better believe it. What is it, December? It's December 1st. I guarantee you Kendrick gonna drop an album by January.
Oh, I think so too, but I'm talking about after
and then after no. He's just getting started, because then after that he gonna go on tour. Well, Not Like Us will be the anthem of that tour. No, ain't no slowing down. Let's get that cleared up.
Well,
the first half of 2025 is Kendrick's.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, you let them have that first half. You let them have the end of 2024, have that first half, and then when the second half come around, I think that's when you should have just released some music. But you going out sad like this, boy. You going out sad like this. Listen, man. First half.
The first half of 2025 gonna belong to K Dot. He gonna drop an album. He probably gonna have something in there talking about the court filings. He gonna put something in there. He gonna put it to a nice little DJ Mustard beat. He's gonna have a few melodies in there, probably throw SZA in there a few times or a couple of other artists with singing, and then yeah, he gonna go on tour right after the Super Bowl. Usher did the same thing. He dropped the Coming Home album. He just performed the Super Bowl and he went on tour. That's kind of it's the perfect window to do that. I wouldn't blame him. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm probably gonna be at one of them concerts. So content reasons, content. But nah, man, I if this was the red button, man, God, I don't know. This changes a lot for not just the rivalry itself, but for the rap game. Because it's gonna start uncovering how often is this stuff actually happening with this payola scheme and these bots are really getting their numbers. Like people rap about it and say people gonna start calling their lawyers a lot. Oh, I don't think your album really got that many streams. We finna uncover. There's finna be some uncoverings. The curtain is gonna get pulled back. The sheets are gonna get pulled up. The skeletons are gonna come out the closet. It's gonna get bad. Drake didn't open up a can of worms here, bro. Litigation, court filings.
You think his records have payola?
That could open up Pandora's box on himself. Like, we don't know, bro. We don't know. What we can say is that Drake is the most I guess not recognizable, but he is the most credentialed or has the most accolades of any artist of all time. So we can say that. We don't know if it's payola. We don't know. But he got the accolades. But right now this just I don't know, man. To his legacy, it kind of doesn't look good right now. Like what type of music can you drop to bring it back? What type of song can you do to bounce back? Like you bounce back from Pusha T, but now, like you're dealing with an artist that Kendrick is. He might not be as acclaimed, but he's just as big. He can put up the same amount of numbers that you can. What do you do now? What does LeBron do facing Kobe? Like, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? Like, but that boy bought them papers out. He bought them papers out. No Usher. This is something. So we will keep our eyes on that situation to see if anything goes forward. If Kendrick is just gonna say, "Screw that! I'm gonna perform not like us anyways at the Super Bowl," which would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. And hopefully I can get some credentials and be there inside of it for content purposes. Content
Me too.
Purposes. Content. We'll be there and do a podcast. Something. We'll do some content reasons. But yeah, we'll see how that situation all unfolds. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close out the show with our Fitz Take, in which we are going to go back to talking about rivalries. Over the weekend, during rivalry weekend in the college football world, I believe it was a fight during the Michigan-Ohio State game, the North Carolina State UNC game, the Arkansas-Missouri game, which I don't even think they're real rivals, but they fought, the Auburn-Alabama game, Notre Dame USC game, Arizona State, Arizona, Florida State, where Mike Norvell was on Billy, Texas A&M, and Texas. So that's 8 fights that happened during all these games. Whether it was planting a flag or somebody said something wrong, there was fights going on everywhere. But rivalries make sports so great. Like, just as much as we would like to root for a team, you need something to root against. You know what I mean? That's what I believe makes sports so great, is rivalries. It's not the big moments. It's not the game-winning catches. It's not, even the Super Bowls, the national championships. It's the rivalry games, because you can remember beating your rival. You can remember losing to your rival. You remember those games, to me, really more than the championship moments, than the big moments the heartbreaks, because rivalries are what make the sports world great. Elijah, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about rivalries? How do you feel about flag planting, the fights, all that stuff that makes up what is a great rivalry?
Flag planting, I really don't. I don't care about. I think that if you won, you should be able to do it. Uh, Sorry, I mean I know that's disrespectful to be on somebody's 50, but you guys know that if one game is going to happen throughout the year, that game will happen. If you guys know where the most trash talk is going to happen, that game. I mean, Auburn, Alabama, you can see that. Michigan, Ohio State, you'll see that. LSU and you can say LSU and Arkansas. You can say LSU and Alabama. It's going to happen. Rivalries, like you said, what makes it sports because as a kid growing up, not only in the college world but the NFL, I remember watching Pittsburgh and Baltimore a lot. I love Detroit Palomalu versus the Ed Reeds. I love the at that time it was Ben Roethlisberger and versus Joe Flacco. Like I loved it. It wasn't it wasn't you expected a low scoring 9-6 game, 17-9 game. Like you expected it because of how the teams played. So, like you said, rivalries make the sport. They're gonna see each other, and in college world, it happens at the end after Thanksgiving, after they got full of turkey. They want to release some of that anger, but I enjoy it, man. It's like to me, um, you look forward to this stuff because it's nothing for not only bragging rights for the players that play, but bragging rights for the fans. I mean, for example, Grambling and Southern. Now, don't get me wrong, Grambling and Southern game. Southern wins that game on Saturday, but to be honest, a lot of people just want that game out of all the games in the world for bragging rights. Southern's going to be like, I went to Southern. Grambling, I'm like, I went to Grambling. Yeah. That's how it goes. I mean, it's no harsh feelings until they start to squabble around and start to fight after games. But fans really just go out there just for bragging rights for that year. Next year, it's a whole new slate. It's a whole new slate. And that rivalry just keeps on going. It keeps on going. So, like you said, man, it makes it, dog. And I'm pretty sure for both teams, I'm not sure how the fence is paid off. Well, you pay at the gate, but rivalry week brings the most money out of everything. Because if you're gonna bank on one time that your stadium is gonna fill, it's gonna be during that week. It's gonna be during that week. So at the end of the day, it makes sense for the colleges, it makes sense for the finances, it makes sense for the fans, and it makes sense for the people that's over the whole sports world because it just brings that much attention to it. So that's all I really got to say about it. I like it. I hope that things can be changed with the fighting and stuff like that could change a little bit, but the planting the flag stuff. I mean, if you won, man, you have that right to brag. Let them brag. Get it over. Get them next year. If you're a senior, too bad. Like you had 3 more years. You had 3 other years to beat them. So that's really it, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. And before I give my take, I'll tell a story. When we were in college, my freshman year, Louisiana College, now Louisiana Christian, their rival, our rival, is ETBU, East Texas Baptist, which is in Marshall, Texas. Which for me, where I stay in, or my hometown in Shreveport, is like 45 minutes to an hour. It's not far. Um, so I was recruited by ETBU, and I was going to initially commit there before LC came into the picture, and I changed my decision and ended up going to LC. So we played them that first year, my freshman year, and I did not play in the game. Um, but we played for what's called the Border Claw, and it's this big trophy, and it looks like a paw, and it was made by an old LC alum years ago, and the winner of that game would keep the Border Claw, very similar to what LSU does with Arkansas for the Battle of the Golden Boot. And like I said, I didn't play in that game, but I watched on the sideline ETBU win the Border Claw, and they ran over to the sideline, and guys were trying to hide the Border Claw because they didn't want to give it up that bad. And I was like, bro, this thing really mean something to them. Like it just means more. No pun to the SEC, but it means so much more during rivalry week. Whether it's the bragging rights, whether it's the the scenes on the field, whether it's the dislike between the players, all of those things are what makes the sports world so great. Um, when you think about what it's ultimately about, which is wins and losses, hey man, they say never be a sore loser, but they don't never say nothing about being a sore winner or over the top winner. Listen, when I win, you gonna know I won. I'm with that. Flag planting. Now, when you do it, you gotta be prepared that there are gonna be consequences and repercussions. But I'm with that because you gonna know I beat you. Yeah, I won. And then next year, I'm gonna do it again. And then the next year, I'm gonna do it again. So I think the flag planting, like I said earlier in the show, I think that eventually the NCAA is going to come in and they're going to start finding teams for doing that. And I think that that will kind of take away a moment in the rivalries that we've had because they're looking at it from a safety standpoint. But just the parts of it, of why we do it, of why it's done, I love every bit of it. Rivalries are what make sports happen. Like you talked about Pittsburgh and Baltimore. You think about Lakers Celtics. Like back then, between you talk about like the Pistons and the Bulls when they played, they came out with the Jordan rules. Like you could name whatever sport you want to, and rivalries are what made sports so great. And this past weekend, during rivalry weekend, for college football, we saw why it just means so much more. So I say to teams, as you play your rivals, whether it's in the Bayou Classic, the Battle of the Bands for that, whether it's the Battle of the Golden Boot, whether it's the big game, whatever you want to call it, always know that what you do during those games is what makes sports fans love sporting events so very much. So that's my take. That's our take. What's your guys' take? Drop it down in the comments. What do you think about rivalries? Are they what makes sports great? Is it too over the top when teams are bragging and celebrating on the 50-yard line? How do you feel about rivalries in the sports world? Elijah, do you have anything else, man? I know we got a busy week coming up. Early signing period on Wednesday. High school football rounding out, and then obviously the championship game on Saturday.
Yeah, man, I think it's gonna be one of the most fun weeks. Before I forget, my dad told me to give him a shout out. He said that because his team won, he still coaches. This is his last year coaching Pop Warner. They won like I don't know what is it called, but I know they're going back to Florida to compete for like a national championship in Pop Warner. He was like, "Give me a shout out, man! Give me a shout out. This is my last year." So I said, "All right, I'll do that." So I gave him a shout out. It's his last year. I got to go to Florida. I want to say next week or the week after. I know one year they played Snoop Dogg team and they lost. But and then I think last year they played Michael Irvin team. So this year he's hoping to pull it out. I know they made a championship game last year. I hope they're hoping to pull it out. He wants to go out on top. So
Shout out to Pops, man. Hope they come out on top and get those victories. So busy week ahead, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back later in the week to preview more of the Ragin Cajuns facing off with the Marshall Herd for the Sun Belt Championship. But as always, we thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening, watching the Fitz Take Podcast. If you're not a subscriber and you've made it to this point in the video, I encourage you, I beg you, I plead you to hit the bell down below and subscribe to the channel. If you are a listener and you've made it to this point and this is your first time listening, I encourage you to follow us wherever you are on your podcast or wherever you get your podcast from, whether that is Spotify, iHeart, Amazon. Like I said, we're working on getting on Apple as well. Follow myself, follow Elijah, follow my production company, One Way Productions, on all social media platforms that we will link down in the description of this video. We thank you guys so much once again for getting us to 306 subscribers. So with that, signing out for Elijah Nixon, I'm Jamarcus Fitzpatrick. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Fitz Take Podcast. Be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. And remember, every episode of the Fitz Take Podcast will air right here on the YouTube channel every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.